Ghost hunting shows, spooky stories, a group of people trying to come together and overcome a threat most people doesn't believe exists. This is the type of story that you can tell with Monster of the Week. It's pretty formulaic, and that's basically what it's intentionally designed to do. It's this very fun, almost nostalgic type of storytelling that goes back to a time where most TV shows were episodic. Most book series were pretty small, and you could read things like Nancy Drew or the Hardy Brothers and learn a different mystery every single week. That's what Monster of the Week is meant to embody, but it's not all that it has in store for its players and the keeper who wants to run these types of things. So let's jump into it.
There are things in this world that we will never fully understand. We want answers.
Monster of the Week is honestly one of my absolute favorite systems because it is something that, one, invites drama, two, invites impressive and very forward-telling storytelling, and three, it really allows all of the people at the table to create the story together. It doesn't put as much pressure on the keeper or the DM as Dungeons & Dragons does, but at the same time, it still allows the keeper to have enough flexibility to guide the story where everybody else wants to go. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The main purpose of Monster of the Week is for the group of players to hunt down the monster. Shocking, I know. And the monster really is supposed to be a mystery. Most of the time, you're hunting down what it could be. Think about all those ghost hunting shows where the people go through everything, they begin searching through the ruins, and they would try and find out what type of ghost they're dealing with, phasmophobia style. That's kind of what you're dealing with here, although it's much more than just ghosts. You could be facing ghouls, goblins, literally anything that the keeper could come up with. And that's what I really enjoy about this. The keeper has a lot of ability to create the types of monsters that they want and apply moves from the playbook to them. And really what the playbook is it's just what Monster of the Week calls the things that your keeper and your players can do. Think of it like actions in D&D, only instead of just specific actions like I swing my sword, it's more vague. Rather than saying I take 2 attack actions, you would instead say I would like to kick some ass. Or instead of saying I take the help action, you'd say I'd like to help another player out or stay cool. Now forgive me if I get some of these terminologies wrong. I didn't brush up before recording this video, and while I should go do that right now, I really tend to lose flow if I don't keep recording, so I'm gonna keep doing so, and I will probably put corrections down at the bottom of the screen whenever I mess something up. Now, the main type of story that Monster of the Week tells is one that's usually filled with drama. See, the system is made to intentionally cause you, generally, to make mistakes for yourself. One of my favorite things in the game that happens is if you roll badly, you don't necessarily just fail. Instead, there is a failure or a bad outcome that comes from it. And even if you succeed, a bad outcome could come. See, if you roll your dice and you get a partial success, which means you rolled just high enough for something good to happen, but it also means that something bad may happen. And typically, the keeper will actually allow the players to choose what bad thing happens to them. This then creates a more interest in creating a more unique story. It's not just what's best for me, it's what's best for the story as a whole. What would make this more interesting? For example, say the player was trying to unlock a door. As they're trying to do so, they roll a partial success, and so we get to decide, did we just accidentally put ourselves in danger? Did we alert our presence to something else? And as a player, I'm sitting here going, I know that I'm trying to break into the house of an NPC, which my character has a crush on. It'd be very interesting if I accidentally alerted them to my presence. Or even worse, this is an NPC who may well be a bad guy, and we kind of want to find out if he is. So I will alert them to my presence as I enter it, and we'll see where it goes. No longer are you trying to optimize things, but instead really trying to figure out what would make the single most cohesive and interesting story possible. And then also, it just allows you to generally make comedic moments.
And Jimmy's a good kid. We'll make sure he stays out of trouble.
Appreciate it. What's your? Did I catch your name, sir?
Oh, sorry. My name is James. Nice to meet you.
And James, just like my husband and son.
It's a very
2 different people.
Fun coincidence.
Just
skills on the detective skills on this one. Holy shit!
Just for shits and giggle.
Yeah.
James, roll manipulate someone, but there's no disadvantage mechanic in there. But we're gonna have one here.
Yeah.
Just because he sold it so well.
Believe it or not, I actually have a +1 to charm, so it's just a straight roll.
Wow.
Oh my god.
I don't know where that +1 comes from.
I'm gonna try and help.
Please do. I'm not gonna say what I rolled, but
Okay. I mean, I rolled an 8. So.
Okay, so that's going
Not
miserably.
bad. That's
That might be the difference because I rolled a 6.
Okay.
I think after that, Bia stands up and is like, well, thank you so much for your hospitality, Mr. But we really better be going.
Thank you. Yeah, we got things to do. Baseball stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we gotta start planning
Talk-
preseason training.
Got to talk about the bases and
not preseason training.
And I'm pulling him out.
Oh my god. And we're walking.
And we're out.
We're
the
walking.
moment the door closes, I'm like, I think that went really well.
See, I didn't have to mess up the name there. I didn't have to be stupid, but I thought it would make a much more fun time. And that's why I really like Monster of the Week, is it encourages what is the most fun decision, not what is the most optimal decision. And there's nothing wrong with making optimal decisions, but that's not what this game system is about. There are many game systems out there which are much more for optimizing. Obviously Pathfinder, 40K, stuff like that. But this is much more about creating the single most dynamic, interesting, and drama-filled story possible. And for a theater kid role player like me, I mean, is there anything that could be better? And so that's the type of story you really want to tell, but then we get to the actual monster, and that's where things begin to get intense. Typically, the monsters will almost always have the upper hand. They have more dangerous moves, they have more ability to actually cause harm, and usually you have to be very careful when you're facing down the monster. They'll usually have some sort of mechanic that isn't just fighting them in order to get past them. A lot of the times it could be a ghost that still has unfinished business, and in order to get rid of it, you have to finish that business before it kills everybody. And the keeper is actually encouraged to keep track of a timeline where certain things will happen. If the players don't act in time, this will happen. If the players don't act in time, this will happen. And it keeps the players on edge and moving forward, and also makes sure that there's never a dull point. If the players just kind of stop moving around and stop doing things, something's gonna happen and they'll be forced to action in the first place, and bad consequences could happen because of it. And I really enjoy that. Lastly, it's just a very character-focused type of game. A lot of people put a lot of focus in Dungeons & Dragons on their characters, and that makes sense, but Monster of the Week is much more focused on learning about the characters. When you create your characters, you're actually encouraged to go around the table and figure out what connections you have to each other. Do I have a crush on this character? Or is this character actually a rival of mine? Did we used to be best friends, but now we've grown really distant and apart, and it's very awkward? And you're supposed to do that for every single character so that you all have connections you can build off of. And for new role players, this is fantastic to actually help you encourage more role play and actually give a baseline where you can start to go off of. Ultimately, I think Monster of the Week is an absolutely fantastic story that everybody should try at some point. And if you don't like it, that's fine. There are plenty others that we could talk about. And if you do have specific ones you'd like me to talk about, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'll be able to get to them. I would love to make a series out of this and help educate and learn people just more on what's out there outside of D&D. So anyways, go out into the world and make it your own.